going to take a journey into the tech space and look at the technology we have, in front of us. My background is very tech-heavy, so some of the concepts are rather tech-heavy. I will try to make some commercial sense out of it as we're moving towards the end. I am cramping down 4 hours of content into 20 minutes. Okay? So, first of all, I would like you all to have a small primer so you do understand the concepts of the things I'm going to talk about. Internet of Things. How many of you are familiar with the term Internet of Things? All of you should actually be. So we take something from the physical world and we represent it in a digital form. In terms of Airthings and what we do, we have a small sensor that gathers information about the environment, temperature, humidity, whatnot. It sends this information onto a hub, and from the hub that aggregates tons of data, this is then transferred up to a cloud environment where we analyze, process, and we provide insights that is translated into value. This is a very simplified architecture, but from an Internet of Things perspective and smart connected products, everything is built with this type of topology. How did we get here in the first place? So I want to take you through a journey throughout Internet of Things, how we ended up where we are today, what we can expect. So Internet of Things, beyond its hype and glory, does have some significant impacts when it comes to products, organizational structures, and business models. So I'm going to refer to a concept that was coined by Michael E. Porter and James E. Heppelman at the Harvard Business Review in an article in 2014 describing this evolution, which I choose to call the revolution of IoT because of the impact and the changes required. So I'm going to use Airthings as an example throughout this, but the things I'm talking about could be a coffee machine or anything else, actually. So we start with a product. In this case, a small black device that you order, you get it, you place it out in a home, in an office, in an environment, sits there for a couple of weeks, months. You take it back, send it off to a lab, and you get a paper back telling you what the radon levels are. Okay? Quite simple. It's a product. Then a couple of smart engineers at CERN decided, hey, we can do something smarter than this. We can create a product where we present the data directly. And this is how Currentium was founded. That is now Airthings. It's not a smart product per se, but it's at least smarter than the previous product. It's about presenting the data on the screen available at the product. The next step is the connected product in this evolution. This is where you put so much stuff into the product, you can't possibly present all the information with a display or locally with the device. So, and we had, 2010, we had the iPhones and the smartphones and everything actually, growing significantly. We had an app for that. We had an app for everything. So this, allowed IoT to fully flourish. The next step is the product system. And this is actually where Airthings for Business was founded upon. So you have an awesome product and you expand it with an ecosystem. It's still a localized solution, but you provide more value in a localized ecosystem. Finally, the end stop of this evolution is the system of systems as described by these gentlemen in the Harvard Business Review. And this is where we start to interconnect the products. So connecting the internet IoT devices to a building management system or an integrated workspace management system to create work orders. And it doesn't also always have to do with the product either. It also has to do with the partners, the ecosystem. So this is to, for example, go from a traditional value chain to a value network of partners instead. And this is also where we stop to have humans being part of the actual solution. So this is the actual step where we can see that products, the solutions talk to themselves and leaving out the human interaction. We're seeing the peak of this exploration. And there are some things that is required in terms of a company when we go through this phase. First of all, we go from hardware products, and again, this can be applied on coffee machines, on any type of product. We go from a need for software, right? So Airthings went from a hardware company to become a hardware-enabled software company where we grow in the software needs because we don't develop and create a product that we sell and that's it. We have a solution that we release that we constantly, continuously develop and improve. So we need to remove the internal boundaries, and this is what we're doing by having the business and the engineering and IT working together to constantly make sure that we have good products out there in the field. And this obviously also creates a need for new business models. We just don't sell a product and that's it. We sell a product and then we introduce something called product as a service or software as a service, as some might want to call it. And this is actually the part where we should be starting to look at expiration dates. I think this is going to be more common when it comes to IoT products to expect an expiration dates on the products themselves. But we're not quite there yet in terms of society and how we interact with technology. All right, so that's for the primary part of view. What can we actually expect in 2022 when it comes to Internet of Things, technology, and all the developments we'll see? Have you ever listened into a keynote from a new smartphone product launch? It's always a lot of cool features, new stuff, awesome stuff, the best ever, blah, blah, blah. And then there's always 30% more battery, 45% more battery, 20% more battery, always more battery. But at the end of the day, I have an iPhone since 2010. I still need to charge that phone every night. Every night, even though they expand the battery every year. I'm going to answer the question why soon. So, in terms of energy sources, we got the lithium-ion battery released 30 years ago. First launched in camcorders that quickly expanded into phones, computers, e-cigarettes, and eventually Internet of Things. And I mean, higher volumes, better chemistry, have plummeted the costs. We see it everywhere right now. But from a technology point of view, it's coming to a stop for lithium-ion. IoT is riding this wave, and I think we're going to see next year new technologies when it comes to battery. Maybe it's lithium sulfur, maybe it's graphene supercapacitors, I don't know. But I'm really hoping to see something new next year. We also have energy capacitors, such as harvesting examples. The light switches, you press them, and the press itself generates enough energy to start off a small processor, a radio, and send off a packet up to a light that can be turned on. Or even wooden floors that generate electricity when you walk on them. That could power sensors. So this is one component of the low power technology perspective. We also have the other aspect that is actually consuming the energy we provide with these products. So we have the processing, the storing, the transmission of the information from these products. And we're getting really close to the minimum, or the theoretical minimum of the usage to send message and packets and information out into the air. So we're actually soon at the theoretical minimum. And this is what catapulted Internet of Things in the first place with Bluetooth Low Energy back in 2010, where you could power small devices with a coin cell battery. All of a sudden, you can smack in a small chip in a product and you can communicate with a smartphone. In this case, it was the iPhone that first supported this protocol. Hence, this big player actually made sure that this technology could launch and become mainstream. Similar things happened with VHS and Blu-ray. We're not going to talk about why right here and right now. But there is a balance between these two, right? There is a balance between the energy source and the consumption, regardless if we're doing advancements in both fields. So back to the keynote with the smartphones. Obviously, the reason there is that there's a lot of cool new features that can now be running on the smartphones because of this extra energy, right? New technologies. So there's a trade-off here when it comes to having a larger lifetime or having more feature sets. So the example is with our View Plus, we enable configuration for the user, for our customers' clients to be able to select themselves if they want a larger battery lifetime or improved feature sets. So that's in terms of low power. Slightly keeping it still technical. Anyone here familiar with Murphy's Law? So a fellow named Gordon Gordon Moore, he, obviously it's Moore's law, not Murphy's law. Murphy's law is something completely different. I always mix them up, but it's the Moore's law I want to talk about. I think that actually was Murphy's law actually happening to me right now, wasn't it? Yeah. So Moore's law. So Gordon Moore in 1965, he made an observation that the number of transistors on a small, dense integrated circuit will double every 2 years. Now, this has been revised. It's been 1.8 years, 1.6 years, but we're talking about technological advancement. That's what it is. So technology is accelerating. Product feature set is accelerating. What we had in terms of technology 10 years ago, the delta between today, that's what we can expect the next 5 years, most likely. So it's going really fast. And 10 years ago, that's when we saw the light of the software configurable radio. This is where we started to be able to have one small little chip with processing, storage, and actually radio, everything put into a small chip. This could be placed in coffee machines, in all kinds of different equipment that it could send data off to a smartphone or whatever. And again, Apple catapulted Bluetooth Low Energy because of this type of technology. So the key is software configurability in terms of this discussion. So in home automation, in the consumer world, we've seen Z-Wave and Zigbee and a lot of different protocols being out there. None of them seem to really flourish because there's no big players supporting them. Though now there's something else coming called Matter. Anybody familiar with Matter in here? It's a very interesting protocol backed up by a lot of players, Amazon, Apple, Google, IKEA, Comcast, Schneider, Huawei, big names. Maybe this is what requires to get something out there as an actual standard that is being used. But this is for the consumer market. So what about commercial buildings, BMS systems, wired systems, traditional thinking? What is the big brand that is going to help IoT in the BMS world? I don't know. I don't think we'll see it in 2022, but we need a big player to actually have something working there. I mean, we're looking at things as APIs to control a building. MQTT seems like something that could be really useful in terms of lowering the cost of sending data, which will help us, in terms of sustainability. But the key thing here is that Moore's law is still alive and kicking. And we will see new type of sensors that today are too large, too less cost efficient to actually move into small battery operated products like carbon monoxide monitors, pollution, ozone. There's tons of stuff that's just going to be smaller and eventually go into battery operated wireless devices. So we will be seeing new sensing capabilities already next year, for sure. Sensor fusion, how does that sound? Sounds really high tech, doesn't it? Right? What does it mean? Depends on what we actually fuse. What we're talking about here is just combining data. We combine data to get insights to create new value based on the underlying data. So just by analyzing temperature and humidity tells you something, but combining data allows us to get new insights. So we have algorithms to run inferences on what's happening and putting it into a context. So some of you are familiar with our occupancy experiments that resulted in the prize-winning virus risk transmission indicator. We have the mold risk as an insight module as well. And there's going to be a lot more when you start combining and playing around with data. So we've been told in the IoT world, to collect data, collect all the data, everything, big data. That's a thing, collect everything. But we know that that's not sustainable, right? We need to do something with the data for it to be actually useful. So cloud, we've been told that we have unlimited processing power. We can scale infinitely, which is sort of true, but it's not good for the environment. It's a direct hit on the sustainability goals that we need to achieve. So, all this data everywhere, hundreds of apps. We don't have time. We need to know what to do and when to do it. So I think we need to make more decisions in the cloud, at the edge itself. We need to extract the vital information early because we know that the Internet of Things contains noise, gaps, false readings. So this is a field that's going to grow significantly the near future, because facility managers, teachers, building owners, they don't have time. They don't have time to go through data. So we need the vital and critical information to be pushed. And the question comes, how? How do we do this? Since the 70s, we've been using buttons and displays to interact with technology, right? Then came smartphones. We had an app for that. Then came voice assistants, which sort of is still on the way. I have an Alexa at home. I use it for egg timer and ask her to occasionally do a rap or sing a song. There's no context beyond that, in my sphere at least. So there's two approaches here I want to talk about when it comes to interaction. One is the vital information, right? The critical information, the fast information. The other one is the totality of information, all the information. So Airthings flagship product, we're using an e-ink display. What is the reason we don't have an 8K display or something similar as the Teenage Engineering OP1 synthesizer display? Why is that? Well, it's costly. It's really, really costly. And it uses huge amounts of energy. There's no way you can have this battery operated for a longer time than a day. The reason is simple. We don't need it. There is no need for it. We need to present the vital information as cheap and efficient as possible. That's why I have the e-ink display. But this is not what I want to focus on right now. What I want to focus on is the totality of data, all the data that we're collecting. How can we interface and look at that? And with that, we have, I think, something really coming for us in 2022. Somebody heard of slamming in here? Slamming, to slam something? Simultaneously mapping and localization, or the other way around, simultaneous localization and mapping. It's about having your smartphone or a small device and be able to create 3D models really easily. If you have the latest iPhone, and back again to the discussion about more capabilities in smartphones, you can now today use their LiDAR technology, light detection and ranging, to actually create a 3D model with just your phone. So slam your building, put the IRQ data in there, and you have a whole nother holistic view of your building. And augmented tools. I saw this previously, and I think we're going to hear more about that. Augmented tools will be used, I think. Virtual tools is going to be more common, especially as we see the oil and gas industry engineers getting into our space. We just need to be better at relying on this technology, because the technology is there, the price is right, it's available, right? And when we exit this pandemic, people are used to remote operations. I think we're ready to actually take in use technology. Maybe you don't have a Magic Leap glasses as on the screen here. Maybe we just have drones going out and scanning the building, and drones actually acting on things that go awry in the buildings. But we're going to see more and more of that, and that's something that we got confirmed this morning with the Gartner chart as well. All right, so leaving my comfort zone for a minute, the technical part of this small presentation, I want to highlight some things when it comes to the commercial value. This has been reiterated all day, so it's going to be some, iterations. Obviously, we have more awareness. Media is starting to get on our side, right? And this is really good. The youth, they really see the benefits of, creating a healthier earth. They want a better living standard, and they want to know about the air we breathe. And the example with John Lumb and teaching the kids, I almost get tears in my eyes when I hear that, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to create, a huge awareness. And starting with the kids, I think that's the right thing to do. So we're getting to a connected society. People are getting comfortable with technology. We have legislations that helps us to get the awareness out as well. And finally, the return on investment, I think, is a trend, because there's still companies, they're a bit afraid, municipalities, a bit afraid of the return on investment. They don't really trust this yet. But again, as the awareness grows, as these legislations helps us, we're going to make sure that the ROI is definitely going to be there as well, the return on investment. So it's only a matter of time before Internet of Things becomes mainstream. in an annoyingly backward-thinking building industry, if I have to say it that way. So the more tech we put into the building, the more benefits we will see. So we're just getting started. So I've been rambling about, I will try to summarize this now as well. First of all, you can expect a significant increase in products where the battery lifetime outlives the product lifetime. So you won't have to care about shifting the batteries, right? As technology becomes more capable and low power, we will see new innovations that will generate products and solutions for problems that are unknown to us today with new sensor capabilities. Moore's law is still live and kicking it. Smaller devices are going to become available. We have more sensing capabilities that we more easily can put into battery-operated monitors. Whether it's, ultra-wideband radars or new type of carbon monoxide sensors, whatever it might be, we will be able to put these in small products. More data sources open up for new virtual sensors, new insights, new ways of presenting the vital data. Again, you're not expected to dig through the data. Of course, some of us love to dig through the data. I love it. John Lom probably loves it. There's a lot of people in here who loves it. But most people, they just want to see the highlights, the vital data, the important data. Edge computing. This is related to sustainability, actually. When it comes to IoT, we've been talking about big data for a long time, but it's time to revert this and actually talk about sustainability. Should we actually store all the data that we're storing, or should we just store the changes in the vital data? Slamming, of course, augmented virtual tools is definitely going to be something cool to explore next year. We have the stuff, we have the hardware, it's available. We just need to make sure we use it. Legislations, as I said, increase of tenders, more stuff of this. Awareness. People are getting aware that we have a huge problem because of media. And return on investment. So proper IoT-based indoor air quality system. It's been live for at least 3 years in 2022, at least if we're talking about Airthings for Business. And the energy savings are going to start to manifest, right? So this is the time where people who've been focused on energy savings, they're going to start seeing the results for real, because then we've been through the different seasons. And finally, the one I haven't mentioned at all, the top one when it comes to the trends and tech trends, it's obviously Airthings. We are taking advantage of the latest tech. We are looking for the latest tech. We are busy with the stuff going on out there. We will take advantage on any technology that we could possibly make use of to make the world a better place. We're going to take leaps within the world of IoT. Thank you.